recently I saw a lot of Rockstar fans complaining that it had been a while since Red Dead Online was updated. I even saw a hashtag just this week of hashtag Save Red Dead Online, and that was from fans who feared it was forgotten, and that raised my eyebrow a little bit, mainly because me, a TF2 fan, has been deprived of one of my favorite games going without an update coming up on 5 years now, and those people were complaining about mere months without an update, which is fine, but still. And that got me thinking about a connection between Rockstar and Valve, more specifically a strange parallel between them. Now for a little bit of context, it's well known at this point if you're a PC gamer or just a gamer in any capacity that's in the know, that Valve, the company that used to produce amazing games regularly, listen to fans and communities, and even actively involve them with almost everything, has kind of turned the back on the community to some extent, and have become much more quiet in recent years. Now the obvious points, of course, is that Valve used to release games to much critical and community acclaim pretty regularly. I would say between 2004, when Half-Life 2 was released, up until 2014, Valve had released classic games that are widely loved, like both Left 4 Dead games, Counter-Strike Source and Global Offensive, Dota 2, Half-Life 2 as I already mentioned, and its episodes, Portal and Portal 2, and of course, Team Fortress 2. All of these loved and revered games that are still popular today with gamers and in pop culture, and all of which were actually released in the span of just 10 years, though this obviously boded well for Valve. Now during those same 10 years too, Steam was growing widely, and in 2007 Valve even created the Steam community, which is very close to what we have today on the Steam application. Now the reason I listed Team Fortress 2 last, but certainly not least when I was listing the games, is because it is probably the best way to get a snapshot into Valve and what had happened in the past years. Now I'm going to do my best to be unbiased here, given that it's common knowledge here on this channel that I'm a TF2 fan and I still play it. And the same is true for thousands of other people. The TF2 used to be a game with constant attention paid to it, likely gaining thousands of dollars in revenue, despite the game being free. But with that same concept rose the popularity of Counter-Strike's newest edition with added skins for trading and unboxing, and the same is true with Dota 2, both of which are still given attention by Valve, unlike TF2. Now, with TF2, over time here, updates for the most part then shifted to community developers, and we got updates like the End of the Line update in 2014, which Valve botched with the exclusion of maps designed for the update, but that's another story, as well as the Halloween Invasion update in 2015, which I personally liked a lot. Now with that in mind, the most recent official update is still Jungle Inferno, which has been ongoing for almost 5 years now. If you hadn't already noticed on my channel, the name of my TF2 contract series is literally satire about how long it's been since it came out. And that was making fun of contracts because it had been so many years since then. It started in 2021 and I'm still doing it in 2022. In the meantime, of course, Valve has gotten more silent about everything, not just TF2, and let the game fall into a state of decay, with the obvious bots ruining casual games, which on occasion gets updated and the band-aid gets put on over it, but the cheating bots always come back. There's never a permanent solution from them. Now moving on, the reason I gave so much context about Valve was because I began to see these same sort of things happen to another game developer that people love, or used to love, which also has a history of neglecting certain titles in favor of the cash cow, so to speak. I noticed this with Rockstar, which is another company that I have sat and watched this similar thing happen with. So with that in mind, allow me to explain what I mean by this. I'll do the same comparison that I did with Valve. Rockstar also had what you would call maybe a heyday or a golden age for their video games. An important 10-year span for them, like I mentioned with Valve, would probably be between 2001 and 2011, where we saw the entire GTA 3 trilogy in addition to the outlying Vice City stories and Liberty City stories, as well as GTA 4 and the Lost in the Dam and the Ballad of Gay Tony expansion packs, most of the Max Payne series, many different Midnight Club titles, both the Manhunt games, Bully, LA Noire, and the first Red Dead Redemption game and Undead Nightmare expansion. Just with that list alone, that's enough to keep anyone entertained for months. And that's all from one developer over the course of 10 years. And again, making the comparison between Rockstar and Valve, there is a stopping point here. For Valve, it was just after Dota 2 where things went silent on the game development front. and that's with the exception of the failure that was Artifact. And at that point, attention was paid to virtual reality, Steam, and updating their games like CSGO, TF2 somewhat, and Dota. As far as Rockstar, and we all know this already, GTA 5 came out in 2013, which came with GTA Online, and then Rockstar just stopped. GTA Online gets updates consistently, and that's about it. It is worth noting that both of these companies have released games since, with Rockstar releasing Red Dead Redemption 2 in 2018, and Valve releasing Half-Life Alyx for VR in 2020 respectively. So as far as a parallel, here's what I see. I see both developers who had a great period of time developing games, and maybe it was economic or internal, whatever. They stopped at some point in favor of keeping existing franchises and services going, and released one fan service game, being Red Dead Redemption for Rockstar and Half-Life Alyx for Valve. Now what I'm also seeing here is both a lack of respect for the fan bases, as both companies are very secretive with their operations and plans, and don't typically announce anything preemptively. I also notice a tendency to milk properties, so to speak, which is mostly well known and obvious on Rockstar's part with GTA 5, but it does go beyond this. There's not much to say about secrecy, as it is a common business practice, and though fans may feel a sense of entitlement to know what a developer is doing, it's ultimately an opinionated topic, as well as the prerogative of the company itself to be outgoing with their plans or their announcements. As far as milking of properties with Valve, it's very obvious that the main plan for keeping the longevity of CSGO and Dota is to keep them constantly updated, giving them more opportunities to sell content passes for participation, new skins, items, and more to keep the cash flow coming. Despite the neglect of TF2 as a property, they still milk this by adding new cases on occasion to get money from community market purchases and key sales. Now obviously with Rockstar, they keep GTA Online at the forefront because it's still extremely popular and makes money almost 10 years after it was released, with many updates coming out each year, as many as they can probably. They of course also sell the shark cards, which give them money directly in exchange for you getting in-game money. Not to mention how many times they've made a quote-unquote new version of GTA 5 with releases for next-gen consoles for 2 generations now, once in 2015 with PS4 and Xbox One and PC, as well as in 2021 with PS5 and Xbox One X. And I've already made a separate video about this already, but don't get me started with another fan service attempt Rockstar tried in 2021 with the release of the GTA Trilogy Definitive Edition, which as we all know had a horrid launch, took everyone's money, and took the game away from everyone temporarily, and still 3 months later at the time of this video, it still has bugs popping up. So anyway, in conclusion, neither Valve nor Rockstar really cares about the community as much as they used to. They really only care about the money, of course. Now call me cynical, whatever, that's common everywhere anyway. At least they're not pulling an Ubisoft here and wanting to add NFTs to their games. Yet. And saying yet is really painful. Now this is all no surprise to anyone, but it's true, and it's just a shame that it's from who used to be the favorite of many. Valve likes to milk their multiplayer properties, and not to mention VR properties, and Rockstar likes to milk their most successful product, GTA 5/GTA 5 Online, all the way to the bank. They neglect certain properties, in this case being Team Fortress 2 for Valve, and Red Dead Online for Rockstar, in favor of others and show little interest with anything new. It is what it is, but I felt like articulating these parallels I noticed the best I could. I know it was a little bit scattered in my monologue here, but I do believe I spoke my piece. If you have some thoughts or anything else, I'd love to hear what you have to say, honestly, because I'm sure there's more that I didn't perceive or notice. That said though, that's all I've got to say on the matter, so thank you for watching, and more than ever, take care.